Right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending this meeting of the Planning Committee, Wednesday the 25th of April 2021. I'm Councillor Caleb Tomlinson and I'm the chair of this committee. If you're attending the meeting... Okay, after each report has been presented and any speakers have made the representations, I will bring the application into committee. If any committee members wish to speak on an application, you should so indicate. I will then invite you in order. Voting will be undertaken by roll call and I will read your names out alphabetically to vote on each item. The outcome of the vote will be confirmed by our legal officer Geordie once complete. Some housekeeping, if you've got mobile phones, if you can put them onto mute, please. To reduce the spread of COVID-19, all tables and chairs have been placed within 2 metres of one another. Please do not move any tables or chairs during the meeting. Whenever you leave or enter the room, you must wear a face mask and there are hand sanitisers around the room if you wish to use them. All right, we're not anticipating a fire alarm drill, but if the alarm does go off, we should leave via the fire exits in the cross and wheel rooms and wait on the grassy area on West Paddock. At the end of the meeting, I will ask you to leave in individual groups to avoid overcrowding. All right, I'd just like to wish a warm welcome to Councillor Colin Sharples, who's joined the Planning Committee, replacing our good friend, Councillor Mrs. Melia, who is suffering ill health at the moment. But when she does get better, she will be coming back onto committee. Okay, welcome, Councillor Sharples.
Thank you, Chair.
I don't know whether to congratulate or commiserate. Okay, so we will introduce ourselves, starting with Councillor Smith.
Starting at the good end, eh? Councillor Phil Smith, representing New Longton and Hutton East. Thank you.
Councillor Harry Hancock, representing Broad Oak Ward, Birmingham.
Councillor Colin Sharples, representing Earnshaw Bridge.
Councillor Gareth Watson, representing Camp Green and Gregson Lane.
Councillor Mary Green, representing Moss Side and Midge Hall.
Jodie Ingram, Senior Solicitor.
Good evening, Stephen Brown, Head of Development Management.
Good evening, Debbie Roberts, Planning Officer.
Charlotte Lynch, Democratic Services Officer.
Great, okay, that's the introductions. Could we have apologies for absence, please?
Yes, Chair, we've had apologies for absence from Councillors Will Adams, Mal Donoghue, James Flannery, Chris Lomax, Caroline Moon and Barry Yates.
Okay, thanks for that. That is perhaps because this wasn't on the yearly diary. This meeting's been called because of time constrictions on certain planning applications. All right, do we have any declarations of interest this evening? Okay, no, thanks for that. The minutes of the meeting held on the 29th of July 2021, the lengthy meeting. I've read the minutes and I'm quite happy with them. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second those, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Smith.
Thank you.
Can we then go to the vote? Councillor Mrs. Green?
4.
Councillor Hancock?
4.
Councillor Hesketh? 4. Councillor Sharple? Oh, no, sorry. Councillor Smith?
4.
Councillor Watson?
4.
And I'm also 4, so I will sign those. In the meantime, Stephen, do we have any appeal decisions?
Yes, we do, Chair. We've just got one this time. The appeal site was land adjacent to Mill House, Moss House Lane and Much Hoole, and the development was for a one detached dwelling. It was a permission in principle application. We refused the application. It went to appeal, and the appeal inspector concluded to meet the test of infill development in the Greenbelt, the appeal site needs to be located in a village. He also concluded the site is located some distance from Much Hoole. There's a clear break in development between the appeal site and Much Hoole itself, and there is not a continuous built frontage. So he did not consider it is within the physical built-up area of the village, and therefore he dismissed the appeal on the basis that it was inappropriate development in the Greenbelt. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that, Stephen. Another good decision, Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, another good decision. Could I just ask a question to the officer, please, whether that was one of the PIPs they're planning in principle? Did it come in that way first?
Yes, it was a PIP.
It did. Oh, right,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay. All right, items number 6 and 7 this evening, Budweiser Brewing Company. Debbie will present each item together, 6 and 7, but they will need to be voted on separately. Okay, Debbie?
Thank you, Chair. As already said, it's Ember Brewery at Samsbury. There are 2 applications, 2 decisions. To save repetition, I'll do them together. The brewery has a greenbelt allocation, but it's got protection as an existing major development site, major employment site, I should say. Sorry. It's surrounded on all sides by tracts of open land and deep landscaping, and the nearest houses are on Vicarage Lane in the west. The first application is the one shown with a red edge, and the second one are the 3 blue boxes. Just one thing to note, this landscaping on the western side, which doesn't really affect this scheme, that's gone now. It's part of a previous scheme for a HGV registration area, so the photo is different. Okay, the first application, that's 626 full, is for a proposed brew house extension. It's on the right-hand side of the site within the operational area, and it's screened outside from woodland on the eastern side, which is being retained. The extension's got an approximate footprint of 19 metres by 19 metres. It's got a flat roof. It lines in with the existing building at 14 metres high, and it's constructed in the same cladding with curtain wall sections to each elevation. You can't really see it on the drawing, but there is an Armco barrier that will be retained and a footpath that runs all the way around it. And whilst it does disrupt a little bit of a car park, the previous permissions for the HGV and parking areas that came to committee a couple of months ago, they account for that loss. There've been no disturbance to trees and no loss of natural habitat. And on both applications, drainage goes into the existing system. Just a photograph of the site itself. It's behind the trees. It's the best photograph I could get, really. Second application, which is 627 full, is for proposed tanks, silos, and an extension to the MVC building. Again, they're on the right-hand side of the site, the centre of the operational area, and they're screened out from outside by either existing buildings or mature trees. So taking each bit in turn, we've got 4 proposed tanks and a supporting frame. They're 26 metres high, and there will be 3.5 metres off the ground to allow vehicles to pass underneath. Again, there is a crash barrier. We have also 2 proposed spent grain silos to the rear of the brew house. The extension on 626 application is around here. They're a combination of 12.1 metres by 6.1 metres footprint, and they'll be about 21 metres high. All the structures on this application are tall, but none of them exceed the height of the existing buildings on site, and they're all screened by the same shrubbery and buildings. And the last bit is an extension to the MCV building. It's behind the brew house again, which is roughly here, which is the first application. It's very small. It's only 5 metres by 6.5 metres, and it just contains a conditioning vessel. We've had one objection from a neighbour, but referring to noise and traffic from the existing facility and the impact on the greenbelt, and they're both justified in your report. No statutory objections, and on both would recommend approval with conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks for your report, Debbie. We obviously have no members of the public. We have no ward councillors wishing to speak. We don't have the agent or applicant on item 6, so we will come straight into committee, please. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Keir. Can I just ask a question first with regard to the previous application that came a few months ago, and whether, in fact, that application has now been carried out and is complete, which is to allow the heavy goods vehicles and the tankers that go there to actually queue off the road rather than on the road. It's an important part, really, because I mean the one that they put forward 3 or 4 years ago obviously didn't take place. That last application was supposed to help alleviate some of the traffic and noise problems along that area.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Yes, there were 2 major applications came before committee. The first one was the HGV registration area. That's very much under construction, and if you drove past the site, you wouldn't recognise it at all today. The one to the rear of the site, which isn't visible from the road, is the next stage. They're dealing with this, and then they've had an archaeology report for the rear section, which they've been uncovering an old parsonage. That needs to be filled in now, and then they'll do the rear part, but well underway. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Debbie. Councillor Smith?
Yeah. Thank you for that, Debbie. Yeah, on that basis, I mean, it's good to see that InBev are continually wanting to invest in South Ribble, obviously updating their equipment, updating their facilities and making them more modern and efficient, I assume, at the same time. So on that basis, I will propose approval, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Smith. Councillor Hester?
That's for both applications, Chair. Yeah.
Sorry?
Are we taking them separately?
Taking 6 first and then 7 second.
Right, okay, thank you.
Councillor Hesketh?
Thank you, Chair. I have similar concerns in connection with the applications that they've had before and haven't completed, but that's not what we have before us tonight. I'm not against the application, and it is within the boundaries that they already have. The only other comment is I can't understand why they don't get all these applications in at once and have done with it, because we seem to be getting them quite frequently. So anyway, I support the application, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Councillor Hesketh. Councillor Hancock, did you okay? Yeah. Any other proposals on item 6? Okay. Okay, we'll go straight to the vote then. Councillor Mrs. Green?
4.
Councillor Hancock?
4, Chair.
Councillor Hesketh?
4.
Councillor Sharples? 4. Councillor Smith?
4.
Councillor Watson?
For approval, Chair.
And I'm for approval as well. Jodie, could you give us the result of that vote, please?
Members have voted unanimously to approve the planning application relating to the Budweiser Brewery Company, and that is application 626.
All right, thanks for that, Jodie. Item 7, if we can open that up to committee. Councillor Smith?
Yeah, my comments are the same as the previous item 6, Chair, so I will propose approval. Thank you.
Okay, can I take that as a block vote for approval? Okay, Debbie, that's a block vote for approval. Were you unanimous on that one?
Yeah, councillors have unanimously approved the application for the Budweiser Brewery Company, and that's 627.
Okay, thanks, Jodie. Okay, agenda item 8, the Parish Church of St Mary's, Church Avenue, Penwortham. Debbie, if you'd like to present, please.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, St Mary's at Penwortham. Again, 2 applications, 2 decisions, one for planning permission and one for listed building consent. They're identical reports. The application is made by the council's project team to replace an existing wall cum fence. There's the bits of both at St Mary's. It's the red block section on the screen. The churchyard is a closed yard, and so it's responsibility of South Ribble to maintain it. That's why it's come before you today. Access is off Church Avenue, and to the right, to the eastern side, there is a woodland that's a very, very steep incline onto the A59 where the red arrow shows, and a few people and cars have breached it, so they want to make the site safe. Just a few photographs to show you the sort of thing we're looking at. It's photographs of the existing boundary. These are wooden fences that have been put up as a safety issue. I'm really sorry, you can't really see on the bottom one. That looks a lot clearer on the camera, but there's bits and bobs of wall that are left in. It really is a safety measure, but they can't build on top of the existing foundations. They're just not good enough. So there will be piling and subterranean work. There's just proposed plans which show the details of the replacement wall with railings and the subterranean work. There's a blind arch. There's some work to fill in voids. We've had all of this assessed by statutory organisations, and visually and structurally it's acceptable to everybody. We've not had any objections from neighbours, and we would suggest approval of planning permission and grant of listed building consent subject to conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks, Debbie. This is just taken as one vote, I presume. Okay, that's fine. No members of the public wishing to speak. We don't have the ward councillors. We don't have the agents. So, once again, we're opening straight up to committee, and Councillor John Hesketh.
Thank you, Chair. I presume this application is where the existing wall is at the moment, but it wants reinstating. Yeah, because I can understand that, because it is actually sloping away. Right, thank you.
Through you, Chair. Yeah, it's falling to bits, but when they've looked at the bits of foundation that are left, they're just not good enough. The embankment's moved and they need to really underpin it.
Yeah, well, it's very steep there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, I'll go along with approval, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Hesketh. Councillor Mrs Green.
Shout up, Mary.
Right, thank you. Okay. Yeah, I noted though in the report that there are questions about there might be human remains near that wall. That's the only thing. I mean, obviously, you're not telling the experts how to suck eggs. So I presume if they dig down and find any remains, they'll be dealt with in a humane way, as you might say. So I have no problem with that. I'd like to second it.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Green. No other proposals? Okay, well, we can go to the vote for the first, on the first instance. Councillor Mrs Green.
For.
Councillor Hancock.
For.
Councillor Hesketh. Councillor Sharples. For. Councillor Smith. For. Councillor Watson.
For approval, Chair.
And I'm also in favour of approval. And the second part of the application, if you can bring that in. Councillor Hancock.
Are we voting on this now, Chair?
We have to vote again on part two of the...
Yeah. We're voting now. For?
No, you need to propose approval.
Oh, sorry. Well, obviously it's all fitting in with what we need, and I'm all for it. So I'll propose that we accept and approve.
Okay, Councillor Hancock, thanks for that. Councillor Watson.
I'm happy to second that.
So we've had a proposer for approval, a seconder for approval. Do we have any other? No. Okay, we'll go to the vote again on that one. Councillor Mrs Green.
For.
Councillor Hancock.
For.
Councillor Hesketh. Councillor Sharples. For. Councillor Smith. For. Councillor.
For approval, Chair.
And I'm for approval as well. Jodie, if you'd like to give us the outcome of that vote.
Members have approved unanimously the application for the Parish Church of St Mary's, both the planning application and just then the listed buildings consent.
All right, thanks very much for that. So we're down to the last item on tonight's agenda. So after last month's planning committee, when we were here till 10 o'clock at night, I think we're... Oh, my tea won't be ready yet. All right, item number 9 on tonight's agenda, which... Debbie, would you like to present?
Last but not least, thank you, Chair. 20 Church Street, the application's only brought before you because the applicant is related to a council employee. We've got a detached property at the junction of Church Street and Bow Street. To the north is St Ambrose Church and residential properties. South's an industrial unit, I'm stretching it out here, and either side are residential. The application is for a single-storey rear extension. It has a footprint of 3 metres by 6 metres and materials to match the existing. It only needs minor tweaks to make it so that it doesn't need planning permission at all. Just a photograph, my arrow's slipped and it should actually be here behind. But we've no representation and we would recommend approval with conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Debbie. Sorry? That was too quick even for me. Right, Stephen, applications like this won't be coming before this committee very much longer, will they?
The majority won't, but this one actually would, because the person is related to a member of the planning team, so they're part of the decision-making process. So this one would, but the majority won't.
Okay, all right, thanks for that. So we don't have ward councillors wishing to speak. We don't have the applicant or the applicant's agents. So we'll just open straight up to committee. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, I was going to ask the question, but the question's been answered now, so I will propose approval, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor Watson.
I'll second that.
Do we have any other proposals? I mean, seeing as they're related to a member of staff, I think it's a bit dodgy, you know. Okay, no other proposals, so let's go to the votes. Councillor Mrs Green.
4.
Councillor Hancock.
4.
Councillor Hesketh. 4. Councillor Sharples. 4. Councillor Smith. 4. Councillor Watson.
For approval.
I am also in favour of the application. Jodie, if we could have the scores, please.
Members have voted unanimously to approve the application for 20 Church Street, subject to conditions.
All right, thanks very much for your attendance tonight. Very short and sweet.
Just for the record, I think the last one was about 14 minutes to look at that. No, but it worked.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much for you all for attending. I hope you find that nice and gentle for you, Councillor Sharples.
Superb.
I can guarantee that you're going to be in for much meatier nights than that one. All right, thanks very much, everyone. Good night. We'll see you next month. If you'd like to leave in an orderly fashion, because, I mean, we can't be overcrowding, can we?